Big Fani Willis, the biggest Fani in Georgia. She's the lead prosecutor who's going to be pursuing a RICO case against Donald Trump. She says that charges are probably coming in August. That's according to a new report, an exclusive from The Guardian. We'll take a look at those details. But we've also got a story about the police preparing for the indictment, saying that there's going to be riots and madness, and so they've got to brace for impact. But this comes after the Georgia Supreme Court also rejected Trump's attempt to quash this special grand jury. So we'll take a quick look at that before we hear from Brian Kemp, the governor, who tells us what he really thinks about Big Fani Willis. So the first story is over from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They say that law enforcement is bracing for impact there in Georgia. They tell us downtown Atlanta over the years played a host to a lot of different things, but now the expected indictment of Trump presents a unique challenge. In the scene at Trump's federal arraignment in Miami, his surrender could attract a lot of news. But now they're expecting a bunch of officers patrolling on bikes, motorcycles, horses, and helicopters. We've got people from DHS who are coming in. Fani Willis is here. Fulton's district attorney was heavily suggested that she's going to be seeking criminal charges against Trump next month. She spent 2.5 years investigating him. And in a letter to law enforcement, she urged leaders to get ready for heightened security and preparedness because she says her decision could provoke significant public reaction. There's Fani. You see, they're heeding her advice. Well, why wouldn't they? The Fulton Sheriff's Office confirmed it sent deputies to study the security in Miami and in New York City, where Trump was arraigned. They're looking to see what safety and security looks like, so we are prepared holistically from all the Trumpers. Unlike in New York, Trump wouldn't need to be present in Superior Court for a potential indictment to be unsealed, but he would need to travel there and be prepared to surrender to authorities. So, all right, they're bracing for impact. They're all, giddy as can be, I think, just, salivating over this opportunity. This is her entire basis for existence. They run for office on the back of prosecuting Trump. She did it here. These different prosecutors in different jurisdictions. Tish James did it. In fact, there's an open question. Who is bigger? Fani Willis, the biggest Fani in Georgia, or Tish James, the biggest Tishy in New York? Open question. We don't know. But they make their careers on the back of prosecuting Trump, and they're going to finish the job and lead to indictments. And so Trump tried to stop some of this by submitting a motion to the Supreme Court of Georgia saying that this is a partisan prosecution and it's illegitimate. But the Supreme Court of Georgia came back and declined Trump's request. They say petitioner Trump asked this court for a writ of mandamus and prohibition against Fani Willis. They wanted her to be stopped from investigating facts about Trump's administration and his challenges to 2020. They sought to quash the grand jury report and to compel her and disqualify her from her role. But the court said no. They say, first of all, the procedures were inappropriate here, how this has been filed. But they say that here Donald Trump has not shown that this case presents one of those extremely rare circumstances where this court's original jurisdiction should be invoked, and therefore the petition is dismissed. Okay, so it's kind of a procedural problem. He went to the court. He's asking for something that the court doesn't have original authority over, and that the court will not do it. So that means the prosecution against Trump is going to go forward, and apparently it is going to be coming in August. The Guardian got the details on this one. They say the racketeering charges in this exclusive are going to involve influencing witnesses and crimes like computer trespass, is what they say. DA Fani is going to be investigating Trump, and it's going to lead to a sprawling racketeering indictment next month. How do we know? Two people briefed on the matter leaked it to The Guardian. The racketeering statute in Georgia requires that prosecutors show that an enterprise existed, that there's a pattern of racketeering that's predicated on two qualifying crimes. What could those be? Apparently, she's got evidence that the racketeering indictment is going to be predicated on statutes that are relating to influencing witnesses and computer trespass for RICO charges. Willis had previously said she was weighing racketeering charges in her criminal investigation, but the new details about the direction and the scope of the case are expected to seek indictment starting in the first 2 weeks of August. So she'll be number 4, the 4th indictment, first 2 weeks of August. The racketeering statute statute in Georgia more expansive than its federal counterpart because any attempts to solicit or coerce the qualifying crimes can be included as predicates. So in other words, you don't actually have to accomplish the underlying crime with other people. If you just solicit, if you're asking or encouraging or coercing other people to do those crimes, even if they're not completed, that still counts as a predicate. It justifies the racketeering. The specific evidence was not clear, though the charge regarding influencing witnesses could include Trump's conversation with Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. That's the phone call. He asked Raffensperger to, quote, find 11,000 votes. And Trump says, in his interpretation, it's, well, have you found that 11,000 votes? Like, what's the difference? What's the margin between the votes? Which, of course, is a conversation that happens all the time. But the government, the prosecutor is going to say that Trump says, find them. And, like, just go Xerox them. Just go pretend you're like the Democrats and just go pull out the suitcases from underneath the bins and then pull out the ballots. Just go find them. Democrats presume Trump is using find like they use it, but Trump is using it like we use it. So for the computer trespass charge, where prosecutors, they would have to show that Trump used a computer or a network without authority, and that would include breaches of voting machines in Coffee County. And these apparently were Trump operatives paid by Sidney Powell who accessed voting machines and copied sensitive data. The copied data from Dominion was then uploaded to a site, and that might be part of the prosecution. A spokesman for Big Fani did not respond to a request for comment, and they've been investigating this for years. So this is the clip from the governor of Georgia. His name is Brian Kemp, and here is his take on this entire investigation from Big Fani.
She said months ago that one grand jury had reached a conclusion, and she was going to announce her findings, as you just said, in August. I think at the time she said late summer. So that was either July or August, which raises the question as to whether or not a DA is working on specific timing on a schedule to drop what could be a whopper. Do you think that's at play here?
I mean, I guess it could be, but I won't really be able to tell that until I see what charges there are, who they're charging. I think, especially in the Georgia case, there could be multiple people that could end up being charged, and I just don't have a very good feel for that. I mean, I'm obviously not part of the investigation. I did testify in front of the grand jury, which was an interesting process, but we got to let that play out.
Okay.
But regardless, Bill, all of this is what the Democrats want. This is a distraction from us being focused on Joe Biden's record and talking about the disaster, the border, disastrous pullout of Afghanistan, how, he talks about, building the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. And the only thing coming out of the middle right now is cash out of their pockets because of Joe Biden's 40-year high inflation, high grocery prices, high energy prices. $400,000 house costs $1,000 more a month now because of interest rates than just a year or two ago, and all of those things. They want to distract from, so-called Bidenomics.
Certainly, there is a lot of attention being focused upon Trump, and certainly those other issues are important and critical, and Americans are concerned about those. This is much bigger than Donald Trump being a defendant in a public interest case. This is not like the Johnny Depp trial or something. This is a bigger problem because it is the weaponization of the DOJ against a political opponent. So we got to make sure we don't lose sight of that. And the people in the Republican Party who are missing that, who are concerned about all the distractions, I think are forgetting the part that the DOJ, the FBI, the Secret Service, the CIA, all of these levers of power will be brought down to bear against them if they're not checked in the future. So, Big Fani Willis, we'll continue to see when those charges drop as we continue to cover.